What's the most NSFW thing you've experienced in a professional situation? I had a manager in a call center in 1999-2000. She would sometimes have one-on-one meetings with employees in her office. During a meeting with me, she was wearing a short dress, skirt, uncrossed her legs in a way where I could see she wasn't wearing underwear, and had a landing strip. I'm pretty sure she noticed that I noticed, but I don't think she was doing it on purpose. I worked in a photo lab at a mayor right out of high school. This was just a couple of years before digital cameras killed film, so I still dealt with people bringing in disposables and rolls of film to develop. 95% of the stuff I saw was kids' birthday parties and vacation shots. The rest though was some NSFW stuff. One woman in her mid-40s that apparently liked to party with her friends had a thing about resting her boobs on people's head. Nice boobs BTW. Another guy dropped off a disposable camera for 1 hour development. I ran it through and the entire roll was a woman who was drop dead gorgeous, just posing naked on the bed. Well, when he returned to pick up the pictures, she was with him. That was a very awkward moment of ringing them up and she couldn't look me in the eye. Had another guy drop off a camera who was a real class act. Naked photos of his GF/wife, a collection of guns, and him snorting coke off a family picture. One other story I have is about a couple that brought in a roll of film. I ran it through the process and most of the images were innocuous, but the final few were probably a little saucy. I say probably because the images were so dark I couldn't make out much more than a silhouette. It was likely the wife modeling off some lingerie. I never printed the pictures though, since they were almost all black. They picked them up and returned a short time later with my manager and store director in tow, demanding I be fired for stealing those last few shots. My explanation didn't satisfy them, so I was forced to put their film back in the machine and show exactly how the shots were and why they weren't printed. After that they got real sheepish and muttered an apology before quickly leaving. That peek into people's lives dried up when digital went mainstream though. I was working for an international company and we were rolling out video conferencing equipment. We had the far-end system in the London office on and connected. It was like 9 PM there, for testing. The monitor was off there, but the camera wasn't. I was looking at network traffic when I heard voices. Looked up and saw an exec and his male assistant. Went about my business when my co-worker walked in and said, "Hey stupid change, did you get that? What the hell?" Exec had dropped to his knees and started going at it on our 60 inches monitor. I quickly killed the connection. And I still don't know if my side was muted or not, but if it wasn't, it was probably pretty funny, with some dude getting a beach and a sudden voice coming through from nowhere. Worked in an office about 10 years ago, on a weekend once when we were closed, but I needed to catch up on a couple of projects. I decided to jerk off at my desk, young and horny. Finished and double wrapped the tissue for flushing on the way out. Not a minute later, a work colleague walked in. Thank fuck, that was close I thought, and told him I'm off home and I'll see him on Monday. On my way out after I was done in the toilet, I realized I had forgotten my phone, so walked back into the office to see him at his desk jerking off. Worked at a honey-baked ham store right out of high school. Loved that job. But I remember one day during the summer when a van pulled up right by our side door entrance and a kid, around 10 years old, popped out of the van, ran into our store, and beelined into the restroom. It was a weekday afternoon and things were slow, so we didn't mind that they weren't customers and were just there to use our restroom. So a few minutes later the kid runs out of the store and we don't think anything about it. A few hours later the lady that's on that shift with me is cleaning the sales floor and restrooms for the end of the day, and I'm in the back production room cleaning up and doing dishes. Suddenly I hear her screaming my name and yelling for me to hurry over to her. Lo and behold, she's at the men's restroom holding the door open with a look of utter disgust on her face. I walk up to her expecting that the kid had left a floater or something. But no, it was so much worse. There was poop everywhere. That brat had smeared his crap along almost every surface imaginable in the restroom. The mirror, the grab bars, the toilet seat, the paper towel dispenser, the walls. I spent the next 2 hours cleaning the surfaces as well as I could, had to throw away the towels we use for cleaning the kitchen, normally get them laundered by a service, and used the disinfectant we use in the kitchen on everything I could see in that restroom. Still makes my skin crawl thinking of that day, and it's probably the reason behind my irrational hatred of all children. In my company we have live video in every conference room. If a meeting is scheduled between two rooms, then the live conference connects automatically and the two rooms are both on live video. Anyone in the company can schedule this. Well, we were in a meeting that ended and the next meeting connected. Turns out the people in the room for the next meeting did not know this and were in a very NSFW activity. The whole executive team watched in shock what was happening in the 100-inch screen in front of them. They still have jobs, but that will haunt them forever. I'm a lawyer, but this wasn't my case. A man was charged with forcible rape and statutory rape. The DA was letting him plead to the statutory rape and some lesser charges. Still a fairly lengthy sentence and lifelong Megan's Law register. However, at the part where man can say something for himself, instead of saying something like, "I'm sorry for what I did," he said something like, "Bitch, judge just jealous she ain't get none." He then proceeded to say the victim wanted it, loved it, and wanted more of it. As evidence, he offered to eat your honor's snatch right here in front of the stenographer, so it's on the record. He then attempted to show the judge his dick. The sheriffs put him in cuffs before he could. Once he was settled down, the judge gave him a choice. Either she would find him in contempt and revoke his bail on the spot, or reject his plea. He suggested that if she just tasted his dick, she wouldn't have no contempt no more. She said, "Well, I guess I'm finding you in contempt and rejecting your plea." The man ended up taking a trial and getting double the plea deal sentence. During my ER clinicals to become a paramedic, I saw two nurses and a doc go into a room together. Thought nothing of it until I went into that room to get something and they were having themselves a good old-fashioned three-way. I wasn't sure what to do, so I did the mature thing and tried to gossip amongst the other nurses. They all already knew about it. Apparently the three of them actually lived together. Executive at a major billion-dollar tech corporation got fired after a Vegas marketing conference. At a huge party where CEO and major officers were in attendance as well as some celebrities, he grabbed a video camera from the marketing team. He was executive, they kind of had to give it to him, and he proceeded to go into the ladies' restroom and walk along past all the stalls with the camera above the doors pointing down. He had to have been completely lit. He was gone the next day. I was on call at the hospital one night during my residency. I get called at about 3 a.m. for a disturbance in a patient's room. I walk down the hall and hear some screaming and a bunch of nurses standing outside this patient's room. As I get to the door, I see the patient standing in the corner, covered in her own poop, legs bent and arm up her gown. This woman was pulling out poop from her butt and throwing it at nurses and whoever tried to get near her. I noped the hell out of there. She eventually ran out of poop and I have a phone order for some meds to put her down. I felt bad for the housekeeping crew that night. They were up to their elbows in poop. I do hotline support, so this person calls me for help and I take over his computer remotely. I realize I need a driver, so I open his browser. You know those top 9 visited websites, that's your start page in Chrome? All porn. Other customer, similar thing, remote control his computer. He needed software installed, so I help him get the necessary dependencies. I open browser, type G for Google and see half a dozen websites that start with gang. Just kept typing. Got a bunch of Chinese customers. Half of them wants to gamble, so I bring them to the casino, the other half wants to do the thing, so I bring them to a brothel. Waited in the lobby, talking to a half-naked woman. Gave her $20 for her time. I was staying in Newport, Rhode Island, remodeling a house, and the tenant downstairs was a very beautiful medical supply saleswoman. We had a dumpster on site and she asked me if she could throw away a few bags of trash. Sure, no biggie. My boss was stomping on the trash to make some room and a bag tore open. It was full of dildos. Dozens. He lined them up on the dumpster, a few still worked. Buzzing along. We found an order form for a whole new bunch of dildos. She must have been a freak. I couldn't let her find them sitting there. Two of us were staying on the second floor while we were working there. She was a quiet girl and it obviously would have been awful. I covered them up with trash. 20 years of great spank bank material though. She was gorgeous. Thank you for watching this video and don't forget to like, comment and subscribe for more.